Alright, so let's talk about Higuruma. Who is he? And let's talk about why he's so special and what he could have been had he not met Yuji. We first saw him in chapter 158. We saw him together with one Kashimo Hajime. I would want to talk about him someday, but we're talking about Higuruma right now, so yeah. But he was really first introduced in chapter 159, but he's technically named in chapter 158 at the end of it. So he was, before his technique was awakened, a lawyer, a great one. He's one of them noble ones. He doesn't take fees from his clients. He basically is really doing it for the sake of justice, or what he believes is justice. Even though that means that he has to take hopeless cases. And according to his colleagues, that's what mostly he takes. He was a hero using the power of the law to defend those that can't defend themselves. Basically, kind of like a Robin Hood. He was really someone to be inspired by, but unlike a lot of stories, a lot of hero stories will tell you, he's not having a lot of success doing what he does. But he just kept doing it, kept and kept on doing it, believing in his justice. He kept on doing it, even his colleagues are like, hey dude, it's not healthy what you're doing, what you're getting into. They even asked him how he is mentally, until he finally managed to win the case. His client was happy, he was happy, they were all happy, only for a retrial to happen and for it to be on reasonable grounds. The other camp has backing too, so they could have easily paid those that needed to get paid. At this point, even the client was looking at him like it's his fault that he's getting a death sentence or something like that. And then he just broke and just said,
Hold up. Wait a minute.
yeah, I'm pretty sure that he cleaned that courtroom up real good. Okay, so let's talk about his ability now. Of course, we know that this ability is a result of Kinjiku's idol transfiguration. The ability too is probably just called Judgment. It grants him this gavel that could transform, it could change forms, he can lengthen it, he can enlarge the head, lengthen the handle. Along with the gavel is a Shikigami called Judgment. This is actually the main feature of his ability. What's not clear to me though is that if Judgment can lay judgment without the domain, I'm gonna go with no since we haven't seen Higuruma do it. But it's also possible that he set it up to where he can use Judgment's ability without the domain to strengthen it, kind of like a pact or something. That's just pure speculation on my part, not saying that that's the case. But the dude is a genius anyway, so that's very possible. At 12 days of having a curse technique, this man can already be considered a first grade sorcerer. Imagine that, he's the same level of Nanami, Todo, and this bitch right here. The crazy thing is, he was even on pace to be a special grade. He first learned domain expansion and worked backwards from there. Who does that? But this could also just be a byproduct of his ability. In that domain, there's no sure hit ability, but people can't hit each other, that's the condition. It's a courtroom where judgment can use its ability. It's the ability to take people into trials with certain crimes. No one knows which crime it is but judgment. And if the person is guilty, depending on how severe the crime is, the penalty could be confiscation or death. And it could be both. I guess that's what happens when you freely admit to a heinous crime, or if you interrupt the trial and piss the judgment off. Confiscation is generally for lighter sentences and basically takes away a sorcerer's technique, rendering them unable to fight most of the time. And if the sorcerer has no technique, much like Yuji, what's taken is their cursed energy. Death penalty is much more straightforward and simple. It transforms the gavel into a lightsaber that, once get hit, will finish the offender instantly. They're probably just gonna poof out of existence. I don't know. I just imagine that. The trial begins with Higuruma explaining the rules of the domain. I think that's a requirement. Judgment will then allege the target of crimes, then hand Higuruma a folder containing the evidence, the presumed evidence. The accused can either admit, deny, or stay silent. The target could ask for a trial twice. Each time is a different allegation, is a different case. There are three possible weaknesses in this ability, though. Number one, even though the prosecution is successful, Higuruma will still have to do the dirty work, meaning that he still have to fight the target. And surprisingly, he has great combat skills. I was like, where did he learn that from? The second weakness is the fact that Higuruma has no control on which case judgment will use. For example, if the target has two crimes, one is murder and the other one is just jaywalking, there's a huge chance the judgment will do a trial on jaywalking, which in turn results in a lighter sentence, even if you want murder. It also takes into account things like statutes of limitations, what the constitution is, and etc. etc. It's all based on Japanese law, so you can study that on your own time if you if you want. The third possible weakness is what is pretty much established, that a superior sorcerer can overwhelm the domain by expanding their own domain. The only reason Sukuna didn't do it is because he wanted to experience Higuruma's sword, so yeah. By only witnessing the fight between Gojo and Sukuna, Higuruma was able to get the sense of domain amplification and pretty much use it flawlessly. Sukuna even dubbed him as having the same talent, or rivals the both of his and Gojo's talents. Of course, this doesn't immediately mean that he's as powerful as them two. After all, there's such things as cursed energy quantity, cursed energy output. But who knows? Who says he can't be? If this man didn't encounter Yuji, things would have been a lot different for him. Remember that this dude's whole thing is that his belief system has been all messed up. It was all destroyed at in the beginning of the Kylan game when Yuji met him. He was in the middle of a soul search, and he's not going down the right path. He's not going down the good path. He even became quite fond of the calling game because at least here there were rules in place and everyone had no choice but to follow. He started believing that no matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, no matter how noble you wish you are, you'll eventually be overcome by darkness. That's pretty edgy. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do about it. Pretty much until Yuji came, a man who survived no matter what, no matter how much he was screwed over. Yuji became the light, guided him back to his old path, the path he abandoned. But of course, being who he is, he knows that there should be a consequence for the killing that he's done. So he decided that he will fulfill his role and die in the battle against Sukuna so that he can atone for it. And that's what he did. And he seems satisfied doing it. I'm not one of these, oh my god, Higuruma died. How dare you, Gege. I feel like he's served his purpose and he's satisfied that he's done, and he's satisfied that he's been put into the right direction. But anyways, Are you one of those people who wanted him to be voiced by Nanami's VA?